It's time for Flatwalk, please, with your host, Kim Richwine.
All right, starting to split A with Chicharito. Rider Lori Toon. For owner Lori Toon, breeder is actually David Williams.
Breeder is me. You know how I became the breeder?
So,
Chris knows. Chicharito's mother, Boats Dancer, was in a couple of your sales, a couple of my sales. She was an 18-year-old maiden mare.
Never been bred.
Never been bred. 18 years old, never been bred, just kind of
Had been a pasture ornament.
pasture ornament, kind of fell through the cracks. And I had one sale that she didn't sell, and I decided I was going to buy her. So I bought her because I'm probably the biggest showboat fan that's ever been. Showboat, got me kind of going in the breeding business. So we took Boat Dancer. I bred her one time on one day to Jose. And Chicharito is the resulting colt. Out of the showboat mare, if you see on that bottom side, that Turk's top, Alabama stock, goes with Chicharito. We had him at our yearling sale as well, and beautiful colt, sorrel with a blaze. But, one of the last, next to the last crop of any Jose's that you'll see that were sired by Jose when he was, still on earth here.
Mm-hmm.
Laurie Toon has him, and I'm hearing good things.
Heard good things too.
Well, and you can't ignore the power of Lori Toon in the maiden. She's a former champion with the maiden, winning the maiden. She's also gotten second, third. She's been in the top 5. She's been in the top 10. She keeps coming back with talented horses year after year. Fun little bit of trivia. She is one of the only trainers, actually she might be the only trainer, to have won an all-day pleasure challenge and a maiden.
The same year.
Not the same year. In general, in history of maiden holdings events, she's the only one to have won.
To won both.
Yes.
That's awesome.
all right, moving to our next entry in Split A is The Dark Web, ridden by Kyle Elliott, owner Missy Johnson, breeder Karen Bean. This is the full brother to world champion Microshock. His dam is the full sister to world champion Tony Tango, reserve world champion Sunset Shady, and top show horse Jack Del Rio.
And this colt is also the full brother to the 2025 maiden standout Aftershock.
Yeah, half brother, same sire. Shockwave got bred very sparingly. Karen Bean owned him for a while. Bred just a few of her mares to him. She had Slim Shady and she had Jimmy Choo. And Shockwave was the Lima Cash stud that she had, and ended up selling him to Dr. Brogdon, Linda Brogdon, and retained just a few breedings. And this Dark Web was a result of one of those breedings. We sold Dark Web's mama in foal with Dark Web. We got Dark Web back. We got to, present him as a yearling. He's a big, rangy colt, a lot like Aftershock. We like that about him. And I'm glad that he's ended up in Kyle's hands. And, not many Shockwaves out there. I think he was the only yearling stallion by Shockwave that year.
Well, I know you got a lot of calls about him when you had him, because I know I was at least 2 of them, because I loved him. When you posted him on Facebook, I said, I've got to have him.
He was a super, super colt.
Hey, pedigree, this has David Williams written all over it. Lima Cash, Jose. You had Shockwave as a yearling.
I did have Shockwave. Shockwave was one of my high-selling yearlings.
Yes,
I'm glad you remember that.
Jim and Donna Steiger.
Yeah,
The only reason is Nick Rippey and I still have the conversation of how bad we kick ourselves in the butt for not buying him, because we bid on Shockwave as a yearling and did not buy him.
Jimmy McConnell bought Shockwave the Sunday after the celebration.
Yep.
Came out there, still had him. We hadn't sold him yet. Jimmy McConnell came out there, saw him, he goes, yeah, I want that one.
It's awesome. One of the very few amateur riders to enter our field for 2026.
This is Revival Shadow Dancer, sired by Jose Revival out of Black Jen's Evening Star. Rider is Lexi Nelms, for owner Lexi Nelms and David Scott, and the breeder is Brad Tuttle. This is 2025 maiden finalist, full sibling to Holy.
Yeah.
Very talked about colt. And this Black Jen mare goes back to the dam of world grand champion Prism Sky.
Mm-hmm.
So pedigree loaded with talent, coming off a great program. Brad Tuttle, also a big supporter of us here at Maiden Holdings. We thank him for his support, and I expect a lot out of this filly.
Like I said, the bottom side, goes back to, Tweeba master breeder, Dr. Gall. He had the Solidarity Generators Annie, one of his longtime anchor mares, but there's a lot of just history to the bottom side of this one. And, the recent history with Holy, everybody loved Holy last year. We loved Holy when he was a weanling, when he showed as a weanling in a yearling. So, Brad Tuttle's got the Black Gens Evening Star, and anxious to see what the sibling does.
Oh, and of this rider, Lexi Nelms, you'll find no bigger fan than Joe Lester. Lexi Nelms is a not so distant past youth rider for Joe Lester, and has had great success from that, and probably learned a thing or two riding at Joe Lester stables. And like I said, one of the very few amateurs to enter our field.
Well, like I said, we want to encourage all the amateur riders to come in. What I say, come jump in the deep water. I said the water is fine. We've had a lot of them compete at the highest level. Jennifer Batts, for one of them, competed at the highest level as, an amateur owned and trained. And that's what the Maiden's for.
Hey, and didn't just compete, made the
finals
multiple times
on great horses.
And in my experience, the amateur riders get the same amount of cheering, if not more, than the trainers do out there. Yeah. It's always well supported, an amateur rider.
Here is our first Daddy's Cash baby. This is Mr. Big Stuff, sired by Daddy's Cash out of the great mare, Pitch Perfect. This is Second Line's half-brothered. This one is ridden by Ryan White, by Joni and Janet Henderson, owned by Joni and Janet Henderson, and bred by Chris Roby, the Roby family. As we all know, Roby has some good babies.
Roby's have good stock. Pitch Perfect was a great flat-shod mare herself. But if you look at Roby stock, when you get down to that bottom side, once you get past that first generation, they love Carbon Copy and Go Boy Shadow. And I'll just tell you, it pays off for them. This mare here's got that Carbon Copy breeding and Go Boy Shadow breeding on the top and the bottom. Touches Macho Man, goes back to that as well. And we've got one later on in the, I believe it's the D split, that comes from the Robies too, that has an unbelievable pedigree on the bottom side.
Well, and I had the opportunity to see this colt standing in Chris Roby's field, and just, as great as Mary Frances Way is, she couldn't take a paintbrush and all the paint in the world and paint one any prettier. Yeah. And she's awesome. Mm-hmm. But, this colt was perfect in every way. He looked the part. He moved the part. He checked all the boxes, and I bet you he will be one to watch.
Moving on to the next entry in Split A is Icy Ice Baby. Ridden by Joe Lester, owned by Karen McGee and Mike Fain, breeder Tony Nails and Darlene Zamora. And I actually got to see this colt really early on. He was being broken out at 4G Farm, breaking him, just giving him some foundation under him before they sent him flat shot. So he was going flat shot, at the beginning. And really excited to see him. His dam is a sister to Reserve World Champion and Red Alert. And third dam goes back to Foundation mare, Miss Goldie.
Well, this is the only Cold Chills foal that we have in the maiden this year. But these Cold Chill babies, they're no stranger to a winter circle.
No, not at all.
And Cold Chills himself comes from a great mare line, so you can, great pedigree stacked on top of great pedigree, that there's something special waiting for you.
Looking at, Mike Fain being an owner as well, Mike is a great, trainer of what I call the pleasure horses.
He's a horseman.
He is a horseman. And, if he has anything to do with it, it's got to be a solid horse.
Yeah. Next horse in the A split is Precious Metal. Dickie Gardner will be the rider for Dr. Charlene Cook, and she is also the breeder, sired by Honors out of a line with cash mare, one of the most popular crosses with Honors. Mm-hmm. Jose mares and line with cash mares. Great justified Honors. You go on down the line, and there are a lot of great horses bred this same way. And you know that this horse had the best of care its entire life. Dr. Charlene Cook does a phenomenal job raising these babies, feeding these babies, getting them ready for sale, and taking them to training. These horses will lack nothing when they go to the show barn to get ready to get their show career started.
She's based in Georgia, isn't she?
Yep, she is based in Georgia. I've had the pleasure of going down and making a farm visit, and let me tell you something. They don't all just look that when they come to town. They look like that every day. It is unbelievable.
Well, and there's not many instances in working for Prestige Horse Sales that I've seen people come in and ask where a certain breeder's horses are. And that happens almost every year with Charlene.
Yep.
People will come in and be like, show me Charlene's babies.
Yep. And every year that first week, Charlene will come in the second week of the celebration and bring her colts in that she's bringing to the sale. And every day I will have somebody come in and say, when Charlene getting here? And they'll want to see, the 4, 5, 6 babies that she's bringing to town, and they will always be dressed to impress.
Moving on to our next entry in Split A is Rosenblatt for rider Crystal Deputy, owner Colton Holly, and breeder Dale Schmidt. This one has similar breeding to another big-time young flat shadow.
Tony V. He is bred the same way by Omaha out of a Titleist mare. And if you look at that bottom side, that Titleist out of a pushover mare, there's been one pretty good one bred that way. So
his name is what?
Honors. He's won a couple times. And seeing one bred like this, it gives you excitement to see what that pedigree being pieced together. Omaha, Titleist, pushover. Crystal already having success with one bred so similarly. I'm sure that she sought this filly out.
Yeah.
Just because she was bred this way.
Bred by the world famous Dale Smith.
I'm not sure. I hope he gets the Master Breeder Award one day, but he will always be a Master Breeder to David and Chris.
In our eyes, he's always a Master Breeder.
And probably my favorite name in the field. I'm just going to say it. I want to say one of, but I keep going back to it. This is Dad Bod.
Dad Bod.
Dad Bod. Dad Bod is ridden by Hannah Pulvers for owner Caroline Elliott Allen, and she is also the breeder. Has the best. We don't want to show favoritism in any way, but this just is cool name, Dad Bod. And I'm sure story. I'm sure Caroline, she is huge on promotion. I'm sure she is going to be somebody who has the promo gear, the T-shirt. You might even see.
They had a horse that looked a little overweight, kind of like me. They had that Dad Bod on one of their advertisements. I said, "Yeah, I identify with that."
Yeah, the story behind this horse is so cool. She took a lesson mare that she had sired by Black Diamond Ritz that she and this is another first baby that we all love, but she took a lesson mare, bred to Daddy's Cash, and this colt ended up getting some fluid in its lungs, and basically the baby had to be resuscitated. But then the mother rejected it, and then the nurse mare rejected it, and ended up getting a mare to take this baby. And the plasma, and they had to throw the kitchen sink at this baby. And to hear Carolina and John Allen talk about the story that's told me, they'll almost get emotional talking about how much this baby, means to them. It was raised on the farm, Valentine Farm. But this is the first baby that Caroline herself has ever raised herself. And so this is a special baby. They called him Forrest.
Well, for the braces on the legs, right?
Braces on the legs. So the whole story behind this colt is so cool. And Caroline and them always give the best names to horses. And she didn't skip out on this one at all.
That's one of my favorite parts about our events is everybody's personal story here. It doesn't have to be something they even homegrown, but in this case it is. And it's part of the charm of it all to me.
That's one thing about horses. We all have a personal story with each horse.
Yeah.
And the last horse in Split A is another Daddy's Cash baby. This is Cash Daddy by Daddy's Cash out of Jen's Black Ops, or if you're very closely related to Mayor Sniper. This is B.J. Richards will be in the irons for owner Debbie and Wayne Simon, and raised by, please pronounce her name correctly so I make sure I do not.
Jean Marie Degville.
Jean Marie Degville. This is Jen's Black Ops' first baby.
I remember Jen's Black Ops. Well, she had a different name at the time. Alan really raised her. My story about Jen Black Ops, my connection is we had her and we had a sister. I think the sister was previous to Black Ops. Beautiful black Jen mare, beautiful. But you couldn't clip them. We did everything, couldn't clip them. They were going to hurt themselves trying to clip them, I promise you. So they're the only two I've ever sold that never got a haircut before they left my place. Herbert Derrickson, I believe, got this filly. And the question I asked him, that winter, I said, "You ever get her clipped?" He said, "Took 6 months. Took 6 months and we got her clipped." And, the rest of the story is, Jean Marie got her. won everything. Flat shot with her everywhere, and bred her to Daddy's Cash, which was a great choice. And this being the first baby, I'm anxious to see it.
Yeah, Daddy's Cash, Black Gin,
Hopefully
Jazz
they can clip
Man. Hopefully they can clip him. So if you see this horse, he doesn't have a haircut.
You'll know why.
You know why.
Yeah.
You should have sold Black Ops. You should have given him a helmet and a mouthpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the origin of the name Jen's Black Ops and the barn name Sniper is based around great patriot Chris Kyle. G. Marie and Ted Degville are huge supporters of our veterans, and so the name was chosen with great purpose.
Ted Degville, Jean Marie's dad, I just have to add, one of the greatest Philadelphia Eagles fans ever.
Ferocious, yes. He'll love that you mentioned that. Well, and that concludes our Split A. We'll move it on to Split B. All right. We're moving on to Split B at this time. We're expecting 9 entries in the Split B on Sunday. Starting off with a Dickie Gardner entry.
It was justified. He was at Sugar Creek last year. Breeder Kay Andrews. Kay has bred 2 that are in the maid that she's very proud of, and rightly so. It was justified out of the Lima Cashmere, Lady of Winterfell, out of a Ritz mare that Ricky Atnip had and showed and produced a lot of horses out of. I can remember seeing the Ritz mare one night at the Cookville Horse Show when they had it in that new facility, not the indoor facility, but the outside facility. And she won that night, and she was super that night. But justified honors. It was justified. A great big coat, a lot of range, a lot of mass to him. Dickie Gardner, they have him now, and I'm anxious to see how he's matured.
And this is for owner Teresa Tyra. She has had an ambush colt named Allstate that has competed on the flat shot side very well, with a lot of success. And so, though I think this might be Teresa's first time in the maiden.
She have reputation.
You're right. She had reputation. Yeah.
Mm.
The only reason I know that is because the Tyras actually are from Eastern Kentucky, where my wife's from.
That's right.
Yeah,
Really?
in the same county, yeah. So
This colt here, we've seen him since he was a baby colt. You remember those videos that Webby Birch used to post of this colt when he was a baby colt? He was a long walking rascal.
And a beautiful individual.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that he ever took a bad picture.
No.
Right.
It was justified.
moving on to the next entry. And Split B is a Sugar Creek graduate, G-Wagon. He's the full brother to Smoke Wagon. This colt's dam is a full sister to Parking Lot Party and After Party. Rider Josh Patterson for Joey Florence and Lori Patterson. Breeder Gray Barker. He is by Jenna Mighty out of Jose's Dixie Lady.
Jose Dixie Lady, one of Gray Barker's great mares that raised a lot of good ones out of. Goes back to his other great mare, that RPM's Danica, which Danica herself was a sister to Lady of the Ritz, which was a World Grand Champion Trail Pleasure mare to Celebration. So this colt here, being by Jenna Mighty, has the pedigree history of being successful. His brother, Smoke Wagon, was successful. He was a maiden contender. I think got an injury and couldn't compete in the maiden, at the level that they wanted to compete. But G-Wagon, I think, has a great shot, coming from a blue-blooded pedigree.
I cannot attest to seeing G-Wagon himself, but I can attest to seeing Smoke Wagon.
Smoke Wagon.
If I'm not mistaken, he was one of the first crop of the Genomites.
He was first crop of Genomites, Smoke Wagon.
Unbelievable.
He was. Everybody loved Smoke Wagon. Everybody loved G-Wagon. And Joey Florence and Josh Patterson, they saw him and said, we got to have him.
Well, and at Smoke Wagon's year, fairly certain, I might be correct in the comments, but Smoke Wagon came into the splits and then got the injury. Didn't come back for the finals. Qualified handily. And I'm excited to see this entry out of Josh Patterson. Don't sleep on Josh Patterson in the maiden. He qualifies almost all of his horses for the finals every year. A tough thing to do. And then usually makes it in the top 10. And so there's a great history with Josh Patterson in the maiden. I can't wait to see G-Wagon out there.
And nobody works as hard as Josh Patterson. He works at it every day, and they'll be ready.
Yep.
So moving on to the next entry in Split B is Time for Truth with rider Allison Smart, owner Allison Smart and Pat Sparkman for breeder Rhonda Hatch. Time for Truth is by Walk Time Charlie out of the Jose mare. This colt is a brother to top performance show horse, Crosstown Rival. And Milestone is a sister to the dam of world champion Harley Quinn.
That's correct. Goes back to the G. Russell Wright and Sons breeding on the bottom side. They're master breeders at Tweeba, the main man breeding. Stone's Throw was a great mare herself. You see a lot of times a lot of these horses that excel in like the halter classes do very well in the flat shod classes. This is no exception to that. I mean, the Wrights have, raised great horses. Rhonda Hatch got Milestone. I've had a Star Ritz at a Milestone that's did quite well as a show mare and did well at the celebration. So I'm anxious to see, combining that with the Lima Cash Charlie breeding on the top. I'm anxious to see kind of what this one looks like.
Well, and I said that Lexi Nelms is the only amateur in the field, but it's because I'm used to seeing Allison Smart's name and associating her with the trainer. At this time, she's not. So she is coming back as an amateur after a 10-year break from the show ring, choosing to come back to the International and to the Maiden and jumping in with both feet.
Well, like I said, even though she may be an amateur, she knows what she's doing.
She's no stranger to a winner circle.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, the next entry in Split B is downright amazing. Lori Toon, the rider for owner Karen Airy, and the breeder is Robert and Karen Airy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a prestige graduate that we had, I believe it was on day 2, and this filly had a lot of attention. Didn't quite bring exactly what they were looking for, and they were not afraid to go and put her in training, and it's looking like it's paying off. I talked to Robert today, actually, and he is fired up about this filly.
Well, the back ends are kind of what you look for when it comes to this competition. Back ends win, these type of competitions. And when you see Black Gin and Ebony's Threat combined on the bottom side, you can only expect it to be good behind.
This filly had a great attitude. She was absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. You could tell this setting suited her exceptionally well.
I'm looking forward to seeing this one. The next entry, here comes Finley New, our 2026 Premier winner. She was riding Simply Timeless in the Premier and won it, and she's coming back to the Maiden with a horse that she opted to enter early. She was so confident in this horse. She chose to enter a reduced entry fee in January and is bringing this horse to the Maiden several months later.
Well, this horse here is a Sugar Creek graduate.
Yeah.
And a multiple Sugar Creek graduate, because I think we sold her 2, maybe 3 times during our yearling sale because she was so outstanding. Everybody was wanting her. She made money for a few people, but like she's he's Shady and Black out of Honors Hullabaloo. If you'll notice kind of on her pedigree, she's really line bred, that Delight of Pride, her second dam and her sire are brother and sister. They're out of the same mare, Prepared to be Dazzled, which is a great Delight of Pride mare out of Victory Pass. So they're line breeding a lot of that Delight of Pride. That's what you see in Omaha. He's out of a Delight of Pride mare. So this filly was real showy, hold her head up just like a show horse. I mean, had great movement to her. Wasn't a huge filly, very, very proportional and very coordinated. She moved right in our show pen, and I'm not surprised that she's prepared to do well over here. And you got Finley, who is as excited about showing as anybody. Come off a big win at the Premier, and they've tweaked highly of this filly.
This breeder on this horse is Tammy Barclay, and the horse is owned by Bobby and Cindy Richards with Finley New aboard.
And the next one leading right into that is the full brother to the 2026 Premier winner.
That is correct.
This is Just in Time.
Mm-hmm.
Is by Walk Time Charlie out of a Master Jazz Mare, Master's Country Songs. Robert Nelms in the irons. It's going to be a little different seeing Robert in the saddle and not at the halter for owner Marla Link for Raiders G. Russell Wright.
I bet you the tread on the show boots aren't worn out like his halter.
No, there's no way. I can tell you that I've spent a lot of time in and around Robert's barn, especially in the last, year or two. And I watched this colt. They had taken this colt home after he won the celebration as a wingman.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing him the week that he came back. He's been out. He's been a colt. for 6 or 7 months. They bring him back in, and that day I saw him working him. I said, "What is that? This colt moves as good as anything you've ever seen on the halter. He's unbelievable." So it does not surprise me to see this colt entered into the maiden. I think this is going to be a heck of a colt.
Another one raised by G. Russell Wright sons from that whole, Tweeba master breeder lineage right there.
And one of the only times I think I'll ever be able to call Robert Nelms a rookie.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it seems like the Daddy's Cash just have all great names. Not saying all the other ones' names aren't great, but this next one I like just as much as Dad Bod is Bad Daddy Rabbit.
Bad Daddy Rabbit.
For rider B.J. Richards, owner Patty Pollock. Breeder on this is Kevin and Kay Andrews, and he is by Daddy's Cash out of a Jose mare.
Yeah.
So the Daddy's Cash and Jose mare cross is done exceptionally well. And you look at the bottom side of this pedigree, Jose out of a generator mare.
Yeah, and what y'all don't realize that Ebony's concern, if you look on some of these pedigrees, look how far you jump back from that 92 to 72, that Ebony's concern.
Mm-hmm.
She had that baby when she's 20 years old. Now, that Ebony's concern was one of the top brood mares in Kentucky. She raised a lot of show horses. Bob Kilgore bought a lot of, babies out of that mare and from that bloodline. That bottom side is some of the best Kentucky breeding you'll find.
Yeah, and it's cool to see some of the modern genetics mixed with this older breeding. I mean, you look at this foal. Her mother, it was born in 2008. Her mother 92. Her mother 72. Her mother 64.
Yeah,
I mean, these mares are spread out. In time, and getting to see these old genetics mixed with these new ones is.
We love seeing that.
Yep.
On another Kay Andrews bred horse. Kay Andrews is no stranger to any event that Maiden Holdings has had.
And a big supporter of the industry.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
The next entry in Split B is Cornerstone RFS. Rider is David Mass for owner Jamie No, and the breeder is Ricky Ferguson, our good buddy. Since we partnered up and bought Maiden Holdings, Ricky Ferguson, I think, has had an entry in every event that we've had.
Oh, he has.
And that's a testament to his breeding program.
Oh, yeah.
He buys the best mares. He breeds to some of the best studs, and he does a great job of raising them.
What I like, this Dixie Bowl mare, Jamie No bought this colt early in our sale last year. But whenever you see two lines on the bottom side going to the great, Ebony Sun Lady, you got a Super Bowl mare that's out of a sweepstakes mare. Ebony Sun Lady had one of the greatest back limbs of any show horse ever. The deal about her, Sun Lady was either at a horse show, she was either going to win or she was going to run away. Either one was going to be exciting. That's what Sun Lady would do. And she went in to produce the second dam as many world champions as the celebration is seen. Well, you got a bottom side that goes to her twice, again, the back end's going to be there.
Yep, sired by Genomati, and then you see, My Magic Dream, which you and I and every, pedigree aficionado really studies at how many good ones that My Magic Dream had. I mean, it was like she was a walking gold mine. She was the anomaly of breed mares that everything, not some that she had were good. They were all good.
He's the half-brother to Dirt Road Darling and Dirt Road Diva. But he's kind of in the flat shot ranks, and he was a great mover last year and a handsome colt too.
Oh yeah, I mean he came off the trailer, did 2 passes down through there, and looked like a show horse.
Really,
ready for a saddle. So he was outstanding individual, and look forward to seeing him on Sunday night.
Well, David Mast will be taking the reins on that horse for owner Jamie No. Jamie has whether all of horses. I think there might be a scratch of Jamie's, but Jamie believes in this class so much and in David Mast so much. He brought 4 entries into our field this year.
He sure did.
Set a record. We haven't had an owner do that before.
We appreciate the support.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do. So I'm excited to see that because David's no stranger to the top 5 of the maiden either.
Last horse in Split B is the Puma. Hannah Pulvers is the rider for Andy Rippey, owner, and the breeder is Lisa Baum. This is a Prestige Horse Sale graduate, and last year he was one of my personal picks. I think everybody that walked through there, I already knew that. His former name was just a Party Boy. He is out of the Great Mare at Party by Jose and out of Blackjack Woman, one of Lisa Baum's great show mares. This was a cool dude as a yearling.
Blackjack Woman, a great show mare. A Party, I always look for my connection. We sold the Puma in utero when we sold his mama Party for Lisa Baum to Mr. Russell down in Alabama. She was a top mare herself, and being info to Justified, the Bombs wanted to thin down on some mares, and we sold a few, and people jumped at the chance to have one. The Puma, I love the name.
That's a good name. Hannah brings good names to the field every year.
It's an Andy Rippey entry, correct?
Yes,
Yep.
it is.
And Andy Rippey, they're also no strangers to any maiden holding event. They are always huge supporters, and they, more times than not, they're going to have one in the top 10.
Absolutely, yeah. And that concludes our split B horses. I as we go through and talk about the bloodlines and stuff, I know we talk about heavy splits every year, but the two we talked about so far are both looking pretty heavy to me. All right, we're coming back with split C. We've gone through A and B, and we're getting back to C, and we're starting off with another Daddy's Cash horse.
This one is Daddy's Drama for owner Mike and Angela Klutz. Alex Shannon will be the rider for breeder Madeline Morrow. Like I said, another Daddy's Cash out of a Jazz Fancy mare. So that Jazz Man and Greater Generator breeding on the bottom. This colt is bred to walk.
Oh, yeah.
Daddy's Cash, Jazz Man, and Greater Generator.
A lot of people don't realize, Jazz Fancy, that's not a real familiar name, but Jazz Fancy was the sire of a 2-year-old gelding that Charlie Green won the celebration with a couple of years ago out of Pushers Modine, one of Joe Martin's, favorite mares that he had. Again, go back to great flat shod stock, Greater Generator on the bottom. He's won everything. So, and being by Daddy's Cash, I mean, like you say, Daddy's Cash are up there.
Well, and put a Daddy's Cash horse in the hands of Alex Sinden, and you're going to have some success. Probably most notably lately is Hit List, another Daddy's Cash horse that Blake Everett actually rode in the novice division last year in the celebration with some great success as well. I'm excited to see Alex have another Daddy's Cash.
We've talked a lot about Daddy's Cash, but we've not mentioned the man behind Daddy's Cash. Dr. Hedrick, he's a great friend to all of us and a great supporter of this class. He's been a very good friend to all of us sitting at this table, and we'd like to say thank you to Dr. Hedrick for all of his.
Moving on to the next one in Split C, it's Catwalk Queen for rider Denise Bader and owner Shane Porterfield family, and the breeder is Shane Porterfield. This one is by Jimmy Chu and out of a Moody Star mare, which is the full sister to Star Power CC.
Yeah, and you go to looking at the bottom side of this, it's an unorthodox pedigree, but it's a pedigree that has worked. So that Moody Star out of a main power mare, you won't see that much, but that Swarovski Crystal mare, it's a heck of a mare.
Well, like I said, the whole bottom side to me says we'll sing to me. We'll see Moody Quack. I mean, some of these are the horses that they had, Swarovski Crystal is one of their top mares. They've raised a lot of, world champion flat shod stock, and, they showed and participated much in that. If say, Will Seen's participation was during, what I call the years of the maiden, she'd be fully invested in the maiden. But, being by Jimmy Chu, we love seeing Jimmy Chu's hit these flat shod ranks. Anxious to see how this one does.
Well, I love seeing Denise Bader in here, too. Denise Bader moved back to the States from Germany and came back to Middle Tennessee and has jumped into our maiden holdings events for 2026 with both feet. She had multiple entries in the Premier, and she's bringing multiple ones to the maiden as well. We're so glad that she's back from across the pond because we love seeing these entries in here.
You got Shane Porterfield, he's top horseman, always keeps great horses around.
And one of the only two people that bred two horses.
That's correct.
In this field.
Two that he bred and raised.
We will let you take on this Rising Star bred rascal.
The next entry in Split C is My Mama's Crazy. Rider David Mass for owner Jamie No and breeder Jamie No. This one is by stud that he owns, Generators Dr. Blue, out of 2-year-old world champion flat shot horse,
Amateur and open.
Yep.
She was kind of like the maiden winner before there was a maiden.
Yep.
The celebration, she won the 2-year-old amateur and the 2-year-old open at the celebration that year.
And this was, when you were talking about looking at the bottom side of the last one, you see Will saying, when I look at the bottom side of this one, I see Rising Star.
Oh, yeah.
Before it was Sugar Creek.
That's right.
Rising Star, Hocus Pocus Jazz out of a Stonecutter mare.
I've always told him if he could have been promoted strictly flat shod, I think he would have caught on and done quite well. He had the biggest angular back legs that you ever saw. And he was starting to catch on when this mare started winning. And, unfortunately, he colicked and passed on.
Yeah, and you talk about how, some older genetics, how, and you wish those horses were here during the quote unquote maiden times, or you wish the maiden times were back then, because there's a lot of breeding horses and mares that it could have shaped this event could have shaped their careers.
Yeah, that they just didn't have this venue to showcase them.
Yep.
And we're so glad we have this venue to showcase these horses.
Moving on to the next entry, Split C, is Never Forget You for rider Lori Toon and owner Margot Young and breeder Susan Wood. It is by a Jimmy Choo and then out on parole mare.
Again, these Jimmy Choo names, I said it during the Prodigy video and I'll say it here. Choo names are up there. They're great.
Oh, yeah.
They're great. And, I got to see this colt as a yearling. He was not a prestige graduate, and I don't think he ever hit Sugar Creek, did he?
He didn't. I think they sold him beforehand. Susan Wood in Kentucky bred and raised him, and I don't know if Terry Doyle handled kind of selling them to folks, because he handles a lot of their mares.
Well, I saw, if I'm not mistaken, I believe she had 3 Jimmy Choo studs, which is to breed 3 mares and get 3 studs is a hard enough thing as it is. But I remember seeing this colt as a yearling.
Mm-hmm.
I think Eric Oakley ended. I think that's where I saw this colt. Was
Eric bought a group of yearlings from.
Yep. And when I tell you that this colt was sharp as a tack, I mean, he was sharp necked, just beautiful animal.
Hang tight, honey.
Yeah, on to the next entry. Split C is Hang Tight Honey for rider Josh Patterson and owner of the Patterson family and breeder Josh Patterson. It's the full sister to their reserve world champion, Martha Devine.
That's a Divine.
By Jose, out of a whole 9 yards mare. And I'll just tell you, especially here recently, if you see I'm Dumas Walker on a pedigree right now, it's pretty prevalent in the winter.
Martha Devine has been their kind of great mare. They're what I call their anchor mare at their farm, and they've shown her all over. She's won all over. And Hang Tight Honey is baby sister. Baby sister to Martha Devine, who did so well out of the great mare Sugar Mine. Mother Josh Patterson bred and raised the Patterson family. His wife was involved in mules a lot, so. Like I said, she knows how to deal with those 4-legged beasts.
Yeah. And, I'd mentioned what me and Josh were talking last year about this time of year, and he said that he had a full sister to Martha Devine, and I just kind of quizzed him. I said, what's she worth? He said, absolutely not.
Martha Devine clicks so well with Lori and does so well in the show ring, but I think we can easily forget that she was also top 10 in the 2021 Maiden.
That's right.
And that was the year that the Maiden won the Maiden, another deep class. A lot of those horses went on to have big show careers, and Martha's one of them.
Well, moving on to the next entry in Split C is Striptease, RW, for rider Hannah Pulvers, owner Kathy Gillum Cole, and breeder Stephen B. Smith. Now, what's interesting about Striptease is when we had her at Sugar Creek, there was 2 fillies that everybody would always get out. And they would get out Striptease to look at, and they would get out Miss Crimsonette, which Miss Crimsonette went on to win the 2-year-old version for the maiden, for the fillies.
At the Prodigy.
Yeah, for the Prodigy. So, I'm interested to see how this filly turns out.
Miss Crimsonette was the highest placing filly, right? She got 5th?
Correct, yeah.
In the Prodigy?
This filly, I saw some pictures and videos that Marty had kind of sent out, and he said, "Chris, I've got a good filly. I've got a
She was a very good fit."
And we hear the buzz of all the stuff he hears. We don't get to talk a lot during the celebration, but he hears through other people what I have, and I hear through other people what all he's got at Sugar Creek. And whenever you hear people talking, you'd say, "What all this David have?" They wouldn't even mention the studs. First 2 things they'd say, he's got the best 2 fillies in the country.
These best 2 fillies, I'll just tell you, Bowie's not exaggerating. They did not sell quick because somebody didn't want to buy the wrong filly. Well, I kept telling them, I said, there's not a wrong filly here. Both of them are great. And it turns out, they both are great. This filly here being a sister to Vivian, who's did so well in the show ring, that's owned by the Andy Rippey family now. Her second down, probably the highest price mare ever sold, Miracle at the Rips, world champion, world grand champion mare at the celebration. for third down, Miss Walking Miracle, multi-world grand champion at the celebration. I mean, you talk about a blue-blooded filly. This is a blue-blooded filly.
I'm excited to see her.
Joe Lesher riding for owner Jansen Patterson. Our breeder is the Andy Ribbit family. This is a Prestige Horse Sale graduate. Jansen ended up buying Dark and Shady, and he stepped up to the plate last year to buy some of that, the progeny by his stallion. This colt was a standout. We had 3 Dark and Shadies, and you couldn't have picked the wrong one. But this colt just had a look to him. Out of a full sister to knockdown, drag out, and record high, this colt is bred in the purple.
She's big and rich. One of Buddy Wilhelm's, best producing mares on the bottom side. Again, another black nightshade influenced stallion that we see they have a lot of success in the flat shot ranks.
Yeah, but if you look on that bottom side, that mare is a Jose mare out of a Silver Dollar mare that's out of a pushover. There's only 13 or 14 Silver Dollar mares out of pushover mares, and the ones that made it to a breeding age or were ever bred according to Tweeba, they all produced.
They all produced.
You own one right now.
I do.
She's bay. She's pretty. She's aggravating.
Mm-hmm.
She produced.
I do. She does. She got one eye.
She got one eye.
She does. Four bits. You used to own her.
I can talk about this next entry. All right. Next entry in Split C is Nighttime Magic. This is a Jason Crawhorn entry owned by Ronald and Debbie Smothers and bred by Debbie Smothers. The Smothers are up in Kentucky, very far from Jason's farm. And Excalibur's Dark Knight is very prevalent up there. Jason does a great job handling that stallion and having a great breeding program up there. Jason very consistently brings us entries into these maiden holdings events and does very well. Grabbed one of our wild card spots last year and is always so encouraging and so excited about the maiden every time he brings in an entry. Mm-hmm. So I'm always so excited to see what he's bringing in every single year. And he had a great job, great one I think he had a good one in the premiere too.
Dark Knight, like I said, that's a name you hear in all the flat shot classifications. They'll call out night this, night that. We had a great selling colt. I mean, a great looking colt we sold last year by Dark Knight. We got his full brother in 2 days ago. No plug. I'm not trying to give a commercial that I'm sure we'll show to some folks during the international, but Jason and them, they do a great job with Dark Knight, and they present his stock, and they've got that big old flat walking gear, like that Ebony Masterpiece Excalibur gear.
Well, Ronald and Debbie Smothers are no strangers to the maiden either. Mm-hmm. They bought between the splits and the finals. They bought Daddy's Last Dime DH, mm-hmm. a horse that went on to have it still has a very great and really long career under Revival Stables, has always been with BJ, and is one of the walkingest horses that you'll ever see. And Ronald and Debbie know what they're looking for when they're getting their babies.
What interests me so much about this one is when I was doing a little research, is every single foal out of this horse's dam has had a show wrecker. Every one of them.
Really?
So this mare produces horses that go to work, and so it'll be exciting to see Nighttime Magic on Sunday.
The next entry in Split C is A Whole New World PRS. Dickie Gardner is the rider for owner Bill McAllister, and the breeder is Stephanie White. He is sired by the late I'm Pushing in Line and out of a Game World mare. So you can say that this one is Edwards bred through and through, Pushed in Line out of a Game World mare. It's a shame that Pushed in Line passed when he did. I think that he had a bright future ahead of him. He was talented, as you've always said, great 2-year-olds produce great 2-year-olds, and this Push in Line was a great 2-year-old. He was good from the time he was 2 to the time that he stopped showing.
Well, you probably remember the video that I took back when he was like in I want to say it was February of his 2-year-old year, when Mac Benham they was in that barn in the war trace. And that's kind of when everything was rudimentary. You didn't have phones. You had actual video cameras. And we videoed a couple, and Pushing in Line was that. And, we knew that day, said, this colt here can be something. Pushing in Line, people don't realize that, he's got the same breeding as Walk Time Charlie.
Yep.
Both by Lima Cash out of Silver Design mares, homozygous gray, so all his colts will be gray. But it was a big loss for the horse world. He was just getting started. And I'm anxious to see kind of the legacy that he produced in this colt here.
Well, and a DGS entry to boot. The last 3 years for Dickie Gardner Stables has been a killer in the maiden top 5. In 2023, we had top 5th place with Jose Shakedown, and Victoria was riding. In 2024, Reputation was 3rd with Dickie Gardner. And in 2025, Victoria came in with Bedrock Babe and blew us all away. She got 4th last year. So, again, don't sleep on DGS. They're coming for the top 5, and they've been knocking on the door to win this thing ever since it started. Because everybody remembers who took first the first year of the Maiden. Dickie took 2nd with BP's Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yes, right.
So keep an eye on Dickie and Victoria.
All right, we're gonna let you take Fu Manchu. I know you love this mare.
I love Chiquita Banana. That was my favorite broodmare name. He was raised by Robert and Terry Perner, or bred by him. They sold the mare to Johnny Puckett and foaled to Jimmy Choo. They raised the Look at You colt, the bay horse that's done so well at the celebration. We were lucky enough to sell him. We were good friends with the Perners. They've since moved to Ohio, and they were selling the mares, and Johnny bought Chiquita Banana and has raised this colt out of Fu Manchu, who they started and was doing quite well. And they switched him over to the flat shod ranks, and I've heard nothing but good things about him. But they have, I guess this is the year of the AI-generated advertising.
Yeah, it is.
Everybody's generating all their AI advertising. And Fu Manchu is one of the neatest ad layouts that we've seen on the internet.
Hey, let me tell you something. There is nobody that will promote their horses more and better than Johnny Puckett.
Yeah.
He uses social media, and I promise you, you will know when he's coming to town. Hey, and usually when he tells you that he's coming to town, he's got his horses good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my favorite part about the whole AI craze right now is that some of them are AI generated horses. Some of them are taking real horses' pictures, like their horse's actual picture, putting it in an AI image to advertise. I find it, well, and it's a quick way to make an ad, and it's all attractive. I find myself liking and loving every single one of them I see.
The bottom side here, the Pride's Road to Rose, is the full sister to Pride's Pistol. Pride's Pistol was a great horse that Joe Martin and them had. They bred a few mares to him. They decided he was too mean, and they cut him. Well, from those few foals that he had, I think there was only like 3 or 4. I know 2 of them were grand champions, and then there was the other 2 were great show horses. But the second down here is this Pride's Road to Rose is the full sister to Pride's Pistol.
I did not know that about Pride's Pistol.
Oh, yeah, look it up. You'll love it.
That's awesome.
And that concludes Split C, and another split that I'm excited to watch this year. Coming back with the final split of 2026. We're excited to talk about this one. Though it may be a smaller split, it is mighty. Right. Starting off with another Daddy's Cash horse.
Daddy's Cash horse that was, if I'm not mistaken, raised by Dr. Hedrick. Daddy Warbucks, David Mast, the owner, David Mast, the rider. He's out of You've Got a Deal DH, was by Jose out of the great mare Cash's Lady Doctor. Now, Cash's Lady Doctor, as some may know, may not know, had numerous world champions. I handled a few of her foals, but she's the dam of Cazadores. I mean, this mare is the full sister of Cazadores. Full brother to Jose's Cash Doctor that won everything over here. I had another colt that we sold, JFK Storm Chaser. That was the first one out of Cash's Lady Doctor that did quite well. That one mare, Cash's Lady Doctor, is, Dr. Hedrick's kind of built his whole herd around. Yep. She is his anchor mare.
I was fixing to say top and bottom. This looks like Dr. Hedrick breeding for sure.
Yeah, that mare, the mother of this colt is a full sister to world champion Cazadores. Mm-hmm. Very, very popular horse. So, I'm excited about seeing this baby.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and Dr. Hedrick is selective about what he takes into his program. And then once they're there, they don't leave. He selected them for a reason, and he keeps them there. And so, and it says a lot when he brings one into the herd, because he's also, if he's bought one, it means he did a ton of research and took a lot of great care in actually choosing that one.
one of the first transactions that I ever had with Dr. Hedrick was at my broodmare sale, and he selected
All-American Cashmere.
All-American Cashmere, would have been the full sister to Epic, the half sister to Lurch. He came to my sale, and he picked out that mare. He asked every question he asked has intention.
Yeah.
Like he's not there to waste your time. He asks questions with intention. He does his homework, and he knows what he wants.
The Dumas Walker on the bottom side.
Dumas Walker on the bottom side. She's already produced a very, very, very talked about, well, he's 3-year-old now, under the Callaway banner. But anyways, getting off on
she was in foal to honors when he bought her, wasn't she?
Yes, yes. She was actually in foal with that horse that sold for, 6 figures. So that's just a testament to Dr. Hedrick's breeding program. So super excited to see this Daddy Warbucks colt.
This next horse in Split D, I love how you guys talk about that the maiden guys, the maiden trainers do not share video of their horses. It's very secretive. It's, it's low key. And I am very pleased to say that I have seen a video of this next entry. This is Blue Strips, a Joe Lester entry.
I'm anxious to ask where the name came from.
Me too. I have no reference to that. This horse is owned by Kelly Harvey and Chris James, and Kelly and Taylor Harvey bred and raised this horse. The dam of this horse is Ample Cash Down. Kelly Harvey has owned for quite some time. And I'm gonna guess that it's about the whole Ample Cash Down Blue Strips. There may be some connection there.
This Ample Cash Down, we had a little difficulty getting her bred. I mean, they were showing her at the same time we were trying to breed her, and sometimes that can interfere with the process. And then we finally got her at foal to Jose, and we were all thrilled. And this colt is the result of that breeding. I just glanced at the pedigree. I see the bottom side. I see Delina Rose. I see Yellow Rose down there. That's Pete Banks, another master breeder with VWHBA, down in Duck River, Tennessee. One of the, what I call, the Harlandale boys, the Duck River boys that, sold all their horses to Harlandale. This horse here comes from that line of Pete Banks stock.
Okay.
And he always raised good horses. For a young kid, a lot younger than y'all, I prepped some of the first yearlings that I ever prepped belonged to Pete Bank.
That's awesome. And so from, this shows you the age getting. So when I look at the bottom side of it, from what I see, when I look at the bottom side of this pedigree, what the first thing I think of?
What's that?
Spencer Benedict Stables, under the direction of Kerry and Spencer Benedict with Ample Cash, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So that was my time period. So when I look at the bottom side of it, I see all the ads in the report when a new report would come in the mail as a kid. I mean, I couldn't wait to get in and look, especially that sire summary at the beginning of the year.
I'm getting old like these pedigrees. Some of the names I know are sliding off the back.
Well,
but one, when we get on into the D, I got one I'll tell you about.
Well, Ample Cash Down, even just looking at her show record, I don't know what year it was, but when I was looking at it, there was one year at the International she showed 6 times and won all 6.
So 6 times.
So she's a force.
And like I said, we're seeing some of our last Jose's that, we got a few yearlings this year, but some of the last Jose's, it's probably the second to last crop of Jose's while he was still on Earth. I mean, through ICSI, we're getting some more Jose's right now, but while he was still on Earth, this is some of the last ones that he bred.
Well, and under the direction of Joe Lester, he's not going to like that I bring this up, but every year that the maiden has existed, except for the first year, has had a Joe Lester entry in the top 10. And frequently in the top 3, not just the top 5, but the top 3. He got second in 2020. He got 5th in 2021. Second again in 2022. He won it in 2023 with a little horse named Jalapeno. And in 2024, he came back and he was 7th with Talkin' Tennessee. And last year he took it with Ghost Pepper to 3rd. There is a consistency with Joe Lester Stables that is undeniable. And whether it's Mackenzie riding or Joe riding, they put a lot of care into building a horse that can handle the endurance that the maiden asks for. It's a longer class on these 2-year-olds, and his horses don't fade.
And one thing on Joe, too, he's not out there looking at, let's say, a lot of colts that are already started. He looks at the raw yearling because he wants to take it and start it himself. Most of those that you see there were ones that he had purchased as yearlings or as agent for their owners, and he started it himself.
He doesn't like to be bragged on. That's why I say, oh yeah, he's like,
he hates brag. Anything whenever you hit him up about something that he's done, or
he'll tell me that I cursed him.
We talked on the phone this week, and he said, I went back and watched your interview that Sarah Smith did for the report, and he said, yeah, I hate it. He's like, it feels so weird for somebody to brag on you. When you make the finals and you're in the top 10 as much, like, it's something you better get used to. Joe and them do a great job.
Now, this next one is one I've been waiting on when you get down to the bottom side of this pedigree. This is Jet Li, sired by the Pilgrim, which is Chris Roby and them's Jose's son that they breed up in Kentucky.
Kentucky's best kept secret.
The Pilgrim. And I got to collect the Pilgrim, I think, once for Shanna Anderson. Great, huge horse. But on the bottom side, out of a great American Eagle mare who I got to stand, forever at Waterfall. But when you get past that.
What, did we say the horse's name yet?
Jet Li is, Hannah Pulvers is showing for Kathy Anderson. Chris Roby. But look at that bottom side of that American Eagle mare. Now, if you look at that second dam, Shadow Sis was the full sister to Go Boy Shadow. She was also the mama of Martha Carter. Shadow Sis was. And if you look at the dates of those mares, you go from 20 to 82 to 64, all the way back to Mary Walker, which Mary Walker was a world grand champion mare. Not mare. The world grand champion. Beat studs and everything. You're not going to find with Mary Walker, Mary Go Boy on a pedigree nowadays, huh? But Shadow Sis is a name that stands out, one of the greatest mares of all time. Bird Walker had her. They raised some great horses. But like I said, she's the sister to a world grand champion and the mama of a world grand champion. And her great-grandson, Jet Li, is in the maiden of today.
That's pretty cool.
And probably the brother is the first ever entry to have his own chant coming in.
Has his own what?
His own chant coming in. Those people who campaigned He's a Bad Man Rising came in with shirts. They had their own chant and everything in the split. So
that is what makes the maiden exciting is the excitement of the owners, the breeders. From mine and David's perspective, we sell yearlings, and he's also in the foaling business. He's also stands the studs. This class has made it. It has a trickle effect. It's not just the current owner. It's about the people who have owned it, the people who bred it, raised it, cared for it. To see those people drive from their respective homes, whether it be local or drive from way far off, just to come see their baby show right back here is awesome.
Well, if you'd like to get to know me a little better, I've owned a maiden entry in 2022. My horse didn't make the finals, but it was a horse named Our Legally Blonde. There may or may not have been pink T-shirts, a self-made logo, and blonde wigs.
I actually remember that.
It happened. I'm not ashamed of it, but I like to use it as an example of, I hope that never dies in this class.
Yeah.
However big it gets, whatever money is behind the purse or whatever it is, I hope that people keep bringing that.
The personal promotion.
Because my horse didn't make the finals. I had a ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope that continues year to year.
Talking about some more Spencer and Carrie breeding.
Absolutely. Solid.
Here is Baby Love, SBS. Rider is Jessica Mast, owner Sarah Keenan, and breeder is Carrie Benedict. This is a Spencer Benedict Stables breeding down to a T. Omaha, ample cash, prime design. And for those of you who really love pedigrees, and you see Pride's ink spot on the bottom side, you've got the goods.
Look on the bottom.
Hello, Josephine.
Side. Hello, Josephine. World champion 2-year-old mare with Joe Weaver.
Joe, not Joel.
Not Joel, Joe.
Joe. Then you have another Josephine, designed by Josephine, and here comes Baby Loves Cash.
Baby Loves Cash. She was a great show mare herself. Sophia Borg and them, they owned her, they showed her. Spencer and them trained her, so she's no stranger to the show ring. I'm not sure this may be her first foal. I didn't look that up, but Jessica Mass has got her for Sarah Keenan, and, of course, Carrie Benedict raised her.
Sarah Keenan's been a longtime customer of Stonewall. Has been there for a very long time. Has performed in versatility classes with her other horses. And this is the only, out of the Stonewall fleet of horses they brought in, I think they've entered 6. Only one Jessica has chosen to be on, and it's Sarah Keenan's entry.
Well, this mare right here also is the half-sister to your world champion mare, Simply Country.
Yeah.
You can't miss that.
Yeah, and so as we know, these Omaha from the 2024, I believe it was, Maiden, B. Purdy put Omaha on the map when it comes to, the Maiden and flat shot horses, period. I think this is only one of 2 Omaha babies that we have in here, so I'm super excited to see this one.
Moving on to the next entry in Split D is I Just Might, ridden by Denise Bader for the Shane Porterfield family and breeder Shane Porterfield. Now, I've seen a couple I Am Mighty Jose's, but haven't seen any under flat shot. So super excited to see this one, and super excited to see, Shane Porterfield family with 2 entries.
Yeah, this is the first I Am Mighty Jose baby that we've seen. And on the bottom side, you see the Dixie Lyman mare. That's out of a Watch It Now mare. That's out of a Jazzman mare. And you start looking at that bottom side, Flirtin' to Win. Flirtin's Jazzy Lady goes back to the great mare Flirtin'. When you go to really tracking down all of her progeny, all of her daughters and granddaughters, what they produce show horses.
Yeah, world champion mare Flirtin'. Again, I Am Mighty Jose out of a sweepstakes mare. Goes back to, like I said before, Sun Lady. Huge back ends. The Dixie Lyman influence on the bottom is always good when it comes to the maiden. You see a lot of Dixie Lymans compete, and I'm anxious to see, I Am Mighty Jose, bred by Shane Porterfield, owned by the Porterfield family, and we'll see Denise. I'm anxious to see Denise come in the ring Sunday night. You ready?
Yep.
It's time to party. All right, it's going to be time to party. Owned by Patty Pollock, ridden by B.J. Richards, bred by S&P LLC. Patty raised this mare out of her great world champion mare, Belisari at the Ritz. Out of Skywatch Susie Q, goes to Copies Caprice. Like, again, we have not seen it. The maiden entries are more like NASA projects. They keep everything under wraps till it's time to go. But from pedigree-wise, the excitement from the owner, excitement from the trainer, I expect big things here.
And no question with BJ in the irons and then Patty Pollock owning, these 2 know how to win the maiden. Yeah. Patty Pollock is a 2-time owner of a winner, Jose's Twist of Gin and B. Purdy, and BJ Richards is a 3-time winner himself.
Yeah, the only 3-time winner.
Ever, yeah.
And the only one to ever win back-to-back.
The mom of this mare, being a 3 or 4-year-old world champion, helps a little bit too.
She's shown, for the longest time, Knox Blackburn had her as well. Showed a lot of the 15 2 and under classes celebration, and always in the top ranks.
Yeah, the Anthony Joseph family owned her at that time, and then came to the Pollock family's ownership, and again, I know we sound like a broken record, but when you just look at the mare power on some of these things, if you go back to Copies Caprice, and you took this sheet of paper and you said, I've got to put down all of the world champions listed, you'd fill up an entire page.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Well, moving to the next entry in Split D is She Blames Texas, ridden by Crystal Deputy, owner Blake Drew and Chelsea Cook, breeder Jim Morris. Here's a sire we don't see. I think this is his first entry. Sired by He's First Class, which is by Jose, but He's First Class is the brother to world grand champion Play Some Country.
Correct.
And out of a Pusher's Hawkeye mare.
That's Dale Smith breed. Dale Smith breeding out of a Titleist Lady Antebellum. That Titleist, always we see Titleist on the bottom side. It's a strong when it comes to any classification. But Chelsea Cook, who's owner with Blake Drew, I was talking to her the other day. She was at the barn for a different matter. I said, what about your Mac? I said, what about your bay one? I said, where'd you find her? And she says, well, I said, we saw the pedigree, and her grandfather's Billy Gray, legendary Hall of Fame horse trainer, and 2 of Billy Gray's greatest world grand champions, where he's putting on the Ritz and the Light of Pride. Well, if you look, on this one pedigree, you see Delight of Pride, and he's putting on the Ritz on that bottom side. So Chelsea basically said, we got to have it.
Nostalgia.
Yeah. Yet Pap's 2 great ones on the bottom side, we got to have it.
Well, and if you look how these horses come full circle, and the 2 entries that Crystal Deputy have are relatives. He's first class baby is out of a Pusher's Hawkeye mare. Her other entry, Rosenblatt, is a sister to this Pusher's Hawkeye mare.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So both of Crystal Deputy's entries are very similarly bred by different stallions, but down the mare line, out of, the Rosenblatt filly is out of Titleist Lady Antebellum, and that would be this filly's Grandam.
She likes that Titleist on the bottom side.
She likes that Titleist on the bottom side. Hey, and I tell you what doesn't hurt this filly, she's bay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm anxious to see. Have you heard about any other bay ones in the field?
I don't believe so. She'll be a standout.
She will be. Our last horse, gentlemen.
Country Revival by Jose's Revival, out of an honors mare. Trainer Dickie Gardner for Sonia Gold, breeder Danny C. Jones. What I like seeing is that triple threat breeding on the bottom side, powerful threat. That's a powerful threat, is the brother Delight of Pride, come from the same mare line. Another out of honors mare, we're starting to, I think we're in our 3rd crop of revivals right now. And I like it that we're seeing them both in flat shods and padded ranks. But Country Revival for another Dickie Gardner entry, they'll be loaded for bear when they come.
Yeah.
Well, and as we've been talking about Dickie Gardner all night, and something to be aware of when we do our split draw too, all the trainers are advised to give us one name for all of their entries.
Yes.
For the number of splits that we have. And that's in order to spread these horses over the splits, so that if Victoria's on one and Dickie's on the other, if we're drawing, there's no chance that they're in the same split. And so what will happen as we get closer to the split night is that the trainers will let the entry office know, and we know who's on what entry. It'll happen in Revival Stables with BJ Krista, Joe with Mackenzie. It'll happen in all of these barns. And as they have to, they will make sure to kind of divide and conquer. And I'm sure that they each have their own relationships with the horses all year, but only for the split draw do we ask them to narrow it down to one name.
Well, and you were mentioning the Revival babies, seeing both sides. Revival baby made the top 10 and almost made the top 5 last year. And Holy, he was 6th place, a horse in the finals last year. Very talked about horse. And I mean, these Revivals are for real.
Like I said, we're anxious to see those. One thing I wanted to touch base on, because that was our last entry in the deed, correct? Touch base on those that have entered, that have scratched already.
Yes.
Mr. Jamie No had Blame It on Jen. I mean, all these entries, we appreciate every entries, and for different reasons, some may not make it to the entry gate, but we wanted to recognize those as part of the maiden, the part of the class of 2026. And we don't want to overlook those just in case, something unfortunate had that we don't get to see them. Blame It on Jen, David Mass for Jamie No. This was a scratch. This was a mare that we had at Sugar Creek. That was a great moving Mighty mare. And, they saw a lot of present centers. She just, not quite ready yet.
Charlie Tango, LCF, was raised by Nick or Lynn Rippey, John Winston Clark, and Henry Holland on the entry. He was by Justified Honors out of the great show mare, Charmin' Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Come from some of Charlene Cook's breeding. He was one of the high sellers at my sale last year and a great individual. I mean, I look forward to seeing his career because he is absolutely loaded with talent.
Mm-hmm. Then you got She's a $1 Million Baby. I don't have that pedigree in front of me, but
it's a Revival Stables entry.
A Revival Stables entry of B.J. Richards for Kathy Gillum Cole, who's been a big supporter of the maiden. Then we have the next one that was scratched for, we're not sure the reason right now, but they are a part of the class of 2026, the Dixie Diamond, Victoria Jameson for Dr. Sheila Bullock, raised by Gail Walling, I'm sure by the Dixie lineman. Then our last scratch that we're aware of is Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac was one of our best justified colts at our sale last year. I believe you saw him, Bowie saw him. Jamie Noe bought him early on from Dr. Barbara Mersch.
We cannot ignore the growth and the impact that the 2026 premiere has had, and that we predict the 2027 premiere will have as well. It's just a few months behind this class. And if you've got one on the bubble, or if you've got one that just, you just want to save and try later, the premiere offers that wonderful opportunity. And so don't ignore the impact of the premiere.
Correct.
It's not just there for that. It's to showcase the bigger, stronger 3-year-olds that are ready to take on their show careers. It's going to have an effect on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and don't forget too that the 2026 premiere winner was entered in the 2025 Maiden.
Mm-hmm.
They brought her here, worked her, and they said, "Hey, I just don't think she's quite ready," and it paid big.
Oh, yeah. Came back and won the premiere.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I want to add, we want to thank all our sponsors who have been so generous in helping us put this on this year. Without our sponsors, none of this happens. Our relationship with Woe, without that relationship, none of this happens. We're just so happy to be associated with people who want the same goals as we are, to see these great young horses in the ring.
Well, guys, I'm always grateful that you guys sit down with me for another podcast episode. Flatwalk Please is excited to always sit down with you guys. We are so looking forward to Sunday night here in Miller Coliseum at the Woe International Grand Championships. Thank you for hearing us out and listening to us talk this game day commentary, as I've heard David say. And that concludes this episode of Flatwalk Please. I'm your host, Kim Richwine, sitting down with David Williams, Bowie Williams, and Chris Elliott. So long.
This is Flatwalk Please podcast with your host, Kim Richwine.